What was kind of I want to start with the crown. And maybe this isn't in your sphere of influence. Did you feel like you had to allow Nebraska to not have to apologize for the success they had in the postseason?
No, no, no. I mean,
Okay.
I think they if you're going to go out there and if you're going to compete in the thing, you may as well win it. And the financial incentive at the end of the thing is legitimate, and they went and won all of the money. That's probably a good reason to go play in that thing, and I think that probably provided. Okay, that makes more sense to wait 3 weeks, because shoot, if you're good at something, it's a game of skill and a game of many things, and you got a chance to split $300,000 among your teammates. So long as you go play 4 basketball games, go do it. And they did, and they won a lot of money. So good for them. I mean, that's shoot. I mean, they're going to be able to help their families and help themselves with that. So no, no, no. I think the financial piece of it probably does change it a little bit for me. Like I think I understand why they did what they did. I think if that component wasn't there, then you're going out there and trying to soak up as much experience for one more week as possible, which they also did. So I think Nebraska did right by going out there, and the win on Saturday was a very good win. Boise State's a very good team.
Mm-hmm. I thought they'd win it. That was my pick. So yeah, I'm super pumped. They made them look fairly pedestrian, and I was floored.
They did. So Boise was my pick, and then Nebraska was number 2. So I kind of thought Saturday's game would be for the whole thing, and then Nebraska had a lull on Sunday, but then they got through that, and Sejan made some shots, and Juwan Gary was great from start to finish, and fun to see him end his career that way, and of course Brice Williams ending his career the way he did. So I think this is something, if you're just talking pure utility, this is something you can take out to transfers now and say, listen, we didn't make the NCAA tournament, but we went out and did this thing, and one guy set a bunch of records, and the other guy, I think, would swear up and down by his experience at Nebraska, that being Juwan Gary. So I think that's a good billboard for where Nebraska wants to go, and where Fred Hoiberg can take them. They got to make the NCAA tournament next year. They do.
Yeah, it's that or bust, right?
Well, not for Hoiberg, but I mean, in the sense of like what fans expect and what their expectation level is.
Oh.
I mean, no, Fred's contract is ginormous, so like he's going to be around for a while. And for what it's
and
worth,
hopefully it's because he's winning, not because we feel compelled.
Right. Well, I mean, I think they can go out and get some pieces. I think they need to get a little more shooting. You see what happens when they make shots, and obviously Juwan Gary made a bunch. But if they go out and get a little more shooting, and it looks like the center that they got is a little bit more offensively diverse than Morgan or Mia, and they needed Morgan to be a little bit more diverse this year, and he just wasn't comfortable taking that three. He just wasn't his thing. And so you bring Matz back, and then you get a center in there that might be just slightly more offensively.
And you get Matz back, and you get to play with a Sejan and Sandfort, which gives you a couple of shooters on the floor at the same time, potentially. Still got to find that elusive point guard.
Well, they could get Jamarcus Lawrence back, and that's
possible. I read that last week, and I was kind of going through that. Wouldn't that be something?
It would be. I don't think that was a player they wanted to leave, and he isn't necessarily a traditional, point guard per se, but he was part of an NCAA tournament team in Nebraska, and I think he was better than the person who came in and replaced him in Raleigh Worcester. So, we'll see what they do if it's him or if it's somebody else. But again, they're going to put together a roster, and it'll be decent. And then it'll come down to you got to win the right combination of games in a league that's not going to get a lot easier. I mean, the Big Ten's going to be tough every single year, and so don't expect things to just get easier. Because Garrett Queen and the guy at Illinois moved on. It's going to be a tough thing every year.
Sam, how
much are they going to pay Jakic this?
Much as they want.
Man.
What do you think about kind of this momentum conversation? Because obviously, as we discussed, most of these players aren't returning, but there's still, it seems like there's still some momentum for the program in general. Like, how do you weigh the success impacting next year when most of these guys are going to be somewhere else?
I think it's very similar to the momentum that Nebraska felt winning the Pinstripe Bowl.
Agreed.
And so it's just a program momentum that you're taking into the offseason. Everybody, of course, lost their minds over Nebraska winning the Pinstripe Bowl, and they haven't really done that necessarily with the Crown, but that's pretty similar. I mean, it's like a bowl game, so to speak. And so, when you win 4 in a row, it's kind of like a bowl game. So, I think that's kind of what they did. And so they can take that into the offseason. Again, they're going to go into the portal. They need to find a couple of guys. They can get momentum in recruiting. Maybe there's a deep-pocketed booster that saw that and said, you know what? I'm going to give a little bit more money to Nebraska basketball before July 1st. You never know. It's just lots of different things that could happen. In terms of team momentum, I hope that if you're talking specific players, I think Connor Essegian will go into the offseason feeling a lot better about things than he would have if he had gone into the offseason off the Iowa game.
Sure.
And so I thought Essegian played really well in Las Vegas. Certainly wasn't Jawan Gary good. But in a lot of ways, I thought he was just about as important as Brice Williams. I mean, Brice had a great tournament out there, but I thought Essegian was the difference maker in the Arizona State game. And I thought when things got a little rocky Sunday, Essegian made a couple of threes. And so, I thought he was a huge reason why they won the Crown. Gary's number one for sure on that list, but I thought, honestly, Essegian was 2A or 2B.
Sam, let me ask you, when you're kind of watching Nebraska and in this postseason, do you like what do you think the long-term sustainability is in concepts as a whole about playing games for pools of money, the chance to win pools of money?
I don't have a problem with it. I think it provides an opportunity and an incentive. I'm telling you right now, I understand why Indiana and Iowa, these teams, I understand why Iowa didn't. I understand why these teams didn't want to play in the Crown.
Although apparently Fran is well received by his brethren. Did you see him yucking it up over there at the old in Vegas? Getting his hugs and his dap ups.
He's the new Penn coach.
I did.
Awkward.
I did. And so I don't know what's, I understand that Indiana basically just vacated its entire team. They all left, and Iowa, most of the players left and went to the portal.
Most of them came to Nebraska one way or another.
I think some of these guys are going to I think after this season, if the Crown comes back, I'll be honest with you, I don't really think people understood the NIL involved here. They really didn't. It was unclear to us how much money they were playing for just days before this thing began and who exactly it was going to.
And then it was like I asked Ravi, I'm like, so is this like the players are getting this $300K? Because that's a good, I'd be incentivized.
Apparently it's not the coaches. We learned that yesterday from Hoiberg. They don't get any of it.
I'm like, fudge. I'd play for,
I'd
play for $50. Listen, Sam, on April 26th, I would do 7-on-7 for $50.
Oh. No, that's what I mean.
I'd be miserable, but
I was. You'd be fine. I think it's really interesting to think about it that way, and I don't have any issue with it. I think it's a good incentive, and I thought, I watched many of the games in the tournament. The basketball wasn't bad. I thought there were stretches where Nebraska played excellent. There were stretches where they didn't, but I thought overall, the quality of basketball was pretty good. And, by the time the Crown rolls around, you only got 4 teams left. And so there's not much NCAA tournament left to go. And so maybe if you're hungry for, something else, there you have the Crown. And we watched the Final Four games on Saturday. And first of all, two very exciting games, but you get to the Final Four and the defenses nobody's shooting the lights out anymore. And one of the things I appreciate about the Crown is there was a couple games where people were just drilling shots.
letting that thing fly.
Yeah.
I couldn't
And that was
believe the
fun.
shot selection.
Yeah, like
Like they were coached by me
well,
out
I
there.
know it was
Make it right.
no question. And so, like, I appreciate that aspect of it. I think that the NCAA, whatever you want to call it, officiating committee or whatever, will go back and look at the physicality of this particular NCAA tournament and maybe dial it back a notch or two, and maybe call a little bit less or call a little bit more early in games so that you have a free flow of play late in the games. I'm not just talking about Duke Houston, but some of the Elite Eight games and just some of the way the games transpired, and you got to make sure that everybody's got an opportunity to make some plays near the rim. And I thought it was very physical over those Sweet 16 and Final Four weekends. So I appreciated the Crown's aesthetics, the way that guys were just kind of getting up and down the floor and playing basketball. It wasn't about every possession is tightly controlled by the coaches and everybody's hammering each other because they don't think officials will call a bunch of fouls in the Final Four, and they're kind of right. They won't until that poor call on Cooper Flag. Like, there just wasn't many things called in that game, and then all of a sudden, there was one call that nobody understood. But that's what I appreciate about the Crown.
I think the thing I like the most about it, Sam, I like the abbreviated schedule. They got this whole thing done in 8 days, basically? 7 days, 8 days?
Mhm.
7.
I think that was phenomenal. Like, if I'm any other, even like the NIT, like, I lose track of when that's being played and who's playing when and whatever. I thought the scheduling of this thing made it really, really compelling.
It did. Yeah, I agree with you. I think it was well. It appeared to be well run, and it seemed like the whole thing worked, and hopefully it grows. You know what I'd like to see? I'd like to see a women's Crown tournament too. So move away from the WBIT, which that's fine. They can do that, but they can keep doing that just like the NIT. But I'd like to see a women's Crown, a 16-team women's Crown as well. And there may come a day, guys, when in a tournament like the Crown is openly competing for teams that don't want to go to the NCAA tournament, and that probably won't ever happen. But you just never know, because you just never quite know how it's all going to shake out in the future.
Sam, on the heels of Nebraska's coaching clinic and a lot of teaching, and these guys apparently like to teach. The next time to go around for the media session, on the heels of kind of what Coach Rule was talking about on Saturday, do you have a new interest or the same interest the next time around?
Related to what?
What you want to see?
Oh, well, we'll get to see them tomorrow.
Yep.
In the States. Some of it depends on what they're willing to show us. So,
that little Rye. I could feel that Rye smile.
Yeah. So we'll see. I mean, no, I don't need to see the receivers and the DBs again. I think I'll try to see what the offensive linemen are doing. And, it's football, so they haven't probably found new ways to practice. I do feel like Rule seems to like the offensive line play.
I'm going to put Ravi on the spot here. He doesn't know that I'm going to ask him this. What was the first thing that I told you I was afraid to say but pleasantly pleased with when I came back last week?
Offensive line?
So, Sam, I was so afraid to say it. I'm like, no, nobody's going to get it. They're going to think, oh, it's bad D-line, or I'm, blowing smoke.